Hey guys, welcome back to Honkai Star Rail. In today's video, we're going to be doing our blade guide. Now, like I did with Luocha, I'm going to try and keep this one short and concise without too much bloat. Just keep in mind, it is early days, so there is much more testing that can be done. So if some of this does change, I will be sure to let you guys know. What we're going to go through in this one are going to be his skills, his traces, his relics, light cones. We'll touch on Eidolons, and we'll go into teams and playstyle as well. Also, as we do with every new patch, we did just get a new code, so I'll leave that code in the pinned comment and the description. You can copy paste it, go ahead and redeem your goodies. So when we look at his abilities, I'm going to be basing these off level 8 for his skill, ultimate, and talent. Just so you know, when you're looking at numbers that do fluctuate, they can increase a bit, but I feel like level 8 is a fair range. So his skill is going to consume 1 skill point, and it's also going to consume 30% of his max HP to enter the Hellscape state. Now, this is going to increase his damage dealt by 33% and cause his basic attacks to become enhanced for 3 turns. We'll talk about what that does when we look at his basic attack. Now, if he doesn't have enough HP, his HP will just be reduced to 1 instead. And this skill doesn't generate any energy, and it also doesn't end his current turn, so he can use this and then use that enhanced basic attack. Now for his basic attack, when it's a standard basic attack, like anything, it just does a bit of damage. Now we are looking at this at level 6, which is maxed out in the current state of the game. So when we get his enhanced basic attack, which is what his skill activates, he's going to consume HP equal to 10% of his own max HP and deal wind damage equal to 40% of his attack and 100% of his max HP to a single enemy. Now this is a cleave ability, so the 2 adjacent enemies will also take damage equal to 16% of his attack and 40% of his max HP, which is a bit less than half the damage of the primary target. Also, if his HP is insufficient, his HP will be reduced to 1, and on top of that, as this is a basic attack, it won't consume any skill points. However, it doesn't generate any skill points either. Next up, we have his talent, or passive, if you will. Now, the wording on this one's important because it states that when he sustains damage or consumes his HP, he gains 1 stack of charge, stacking up to 5 times. Now, when I said the wording is important, sustaining damage also includes dot damage. So if at the start of his turn he has a dot, he will gain a stack from that as well, which is a really nice effect. Besides that, you get the gist if he consumes his HP, which he does with most of his skills, or if he is attacked, he will also gain a stack. Now, once he reaches 5 stacks, he will immediately trigger a follow-up attack that's going to deal damage to all enemies. Damage scaling at level 8 is going to be 38% of his attack plus 96% of his max HP. And after this, it will also restore his HP by 25% of his max. And then there is also a trace that you can unlock, which is his final trace, which is going to increase the damage of the follow-up attack by 20%. Next up, we have his ultimate ability, Death Sentence. This one's going to cost 130 energy, and it's going to set his current HP to 50% of his max. So if he's above 50, it's going to bring him down, and if it's below 50, it's going to bring him up. Just keep in mind, if you're trying to stack his passive, only when he's above 50% and uses this to bring himself down is he going to gain a stack from this ability. After that, he's going to launch an attack. Now, this is a cleave attack, kind of like his enhanced basic, where the primary target is going to take the highest amount of damage, and the 2 adjacent enemies are going to take a bit over a third of that damage. So the damage the primary target takes will be equal to 36% of his attack and 90% of his max HP, and an additional 90% of the total HP that he has lost during the current battle. But that bonus damage is capped at 90% of his max HP. However, the value will also be reset and reaccumulated after his ultimate has been used. So between every ult, you're trying to consume at least 90% of his max HP so that he can maximize and get the full damage every time, which honestly isn't the hardest thing to do because it is quite a high energy cost as well. And finally, we have his technique. Now, this is a combat style technique, so if you use it, it's going to enter you into the combat, and when entering combat, it's going to consume 20% of his max HP to deal damage to all enemies equal to 40% of his max HP. And if for some reason, you've been exploring and your health is low, if you don't have enough HP, it will just set his HP to 1. Now, before we go any further, I always like to put this at the start of the video, and that is key mistakes to avoid in, your playstyle with a character. So with Blade, you can see that he's generating stacks as he is being hit, which is a very important thing for him to proc his passive and get his follow-up attack, which does really solid damage, heals him, and all the good stuff. So you really want to be proccing this as much as possible. And I will talk about like units to pair him with when I go through teams at the end. But this one, you want to avoid shielding him. So you'll see here, I'll use a skill, consume HP, perfect, we get a stack. Then I'll go in here and we'll use a basic attack, consume some more HP, away we go. And then here, if I put a shield on him with March, the problem is when these guys attack, you'll see he's not gaining stacks. He doesn't gain stacks from enemies attacking him unless they deal damage. So this one, you'll see it broke the shield and did a little bit of damage to him, so he gains a stack. Then the direct attack, he copped one. Once again, so forth. So essentially, unlike Arlen, who's a character who doesn't want to be topped off very much and would rather just have shields, this guy doesn't want shields and he just wants to be healed, whether it be through his ultimate when he's low, keeping in mind you can use his ultimate to consume HP when he is high, or through another healer, or from his follow-up attack when he uses it, because that is also going to generate him the extra HP when he uses this follow-up attack. So that is the gist. Basically, don't put him with shields and you should be pretty safe. Next up, we're going to go through relics. Now, I'm going to go through this fairly quick. Just keep in mind there are different options for this, but essentially the new set, the Disciple set, is going to be the one I recommend. It has HP and it gives him a good chunk of crit rate. This set, plus using a Planet Ornament set that gives crit rate, along with his traces and base, he gets to around 43% crit rate, which is really nice. Now, obviously, you're going to have to farm this. So if you don't have that, you can look to things like Eagle of Twilight to get that wind damage, and then mix it up with anything you have with essentially good substats. But really, what you really want to get is the 4-piece of this one because it's such high value for him. As we look to the main stats on the body, I recommend crit damage. Like I said, 43% crit rate just off of sets and traces is really solid, meaning you only need a few crit rate subs to get him into a viable range. So for most people, I would say crit damage for the chest. There is arguments for HP if you're soloing content or something like that, but at the moment, I think crit damage is going to be ideal for him there. Onto the feat, speed is going to be my number one choice. However, there are situations in which I see HP being viable. HP would become more viable for me if there's a situation where we can put taunt value on him without shielding. At the moment, March is the only one who can do it, but she puts a shield on and the shield stops him proccing his passive and getting stacks, so it doesn't work. But in the future, if we have someone that can put taunt on him, then HP can become more viable because then we can reliably get him hit more, and that HP is going to give him more tankiness and also deal more damage because he's going to rely on more damage through his follow-ups. But for now, like I said, we can stick to speed, but I would also, if you did get a HP set with HP piece with good substats, I would build it up. And then if we come to an AoE fight where you're reliably going to get hit a lot, then you can try the HP as well. As for Planet Ornaments, in a Celsoto, sorry, I suck at saying this one, that's going to be my number one pick. We get crit rate, and then we only need to reach 50%, and then we will get follow-up, attack damage, and also ultimate damage. Really nice. The other option for the damage-based build is going to be the new set, which gives you 8% crit rate. You then need to reach 70% to get basic attack and skill damage increase, which he's obviously only going to take advantage on his enhanced basic with this one. But I feel like Celsoto is just a great choice because less gearing requirements, only requiring 50% to get it. 70% is quite high in this game. And also because people have already farmed this, so you've probably got a decent set. As for stats, I would go wind damage on the sphere and HP on the rope. There definitely could be an argument made for energy regeneration on the rope and also an argument for HP on the sphere, but I might go through those ideas in future videos. But in general, wind damage and HP is a pretty safe build. And finally, when we look at substats, crit rate is going to be a very high priority for me. Like I said, even though he does get to 43% pretty easily, you want to climb it up towards that 60 to 70 range. So getting those crit rate subs is going to be great. Then obviously crit damage to increase the damage, HP percent to increase the tankiness and also the damage, and then speed, because obviously speed makes him have more turns, uses attack more, consume his HP more often, follow up attack more. You guys get the gist. Now let's jump into Lycones. His signature Lycone is going to be the best in slot for him, giving him crit rate, HP, and damage dealt. Really solid, along with having really high base stats. You can't look past it for those that are willing to pull for it. Now, I just wanted to mention the free-to-play 5-star Lycone that you can get from Herder's shop. Now, this one gives a bunch of attack, and yes, he does have attack scaling, but but HP is the most important thing for him. So you can get away with this one because a lot of people do have it built. Just know that it's definitely not his best in slot because unlike his signature one, it's lacking the HP and lacking the crit rate. As for 4 stars, my preferred is going to be a Secret Vow. Now, this one, like I said, same HP scaling as the 5-star free-to-play Light Cone, and it gives him a damage increase. Plus, if you have dupes, this is just going to go ahead and get even better and better. But yeah, you get a raw damage increase, and then if your HP is lower than the enemy, you get even more. Now, depending on your playstyle, depending on your team, this can become a lot of extra damage. So that would be my choice of 4-star Light Cones. And for some 3-star Copium, my choice for 3 stars would be Collapsing Sky. Just keep in mind, this one has lower base stats, and that's what really hurts it. But, you know, you get an extra 40% damage on that enhanced basic attack. Obviously, you're missing out on the damage increase from the 4-star Light Cone that would apply to his follow-up attacks and his ultimate as well. But, you know, this is, for that desperation move. Don't recommend it. The 4 stars probably better, or go ahead and get the signature Light Cone, but I just thought we'd throw it in there as an option. Now we're just quickly going to touch on Eidolons. I'm going to do it very quick because I know it's not relevant to absolutely everyone. So at 1, he's going to get increased ultimate damage. At 2, he's just going to get a 15% crit rate buff, only in his changed state, which is pretty much all the time. Then at Eidolon 4, he's going to get the ability to increase his max HP in combat. And at Eidolon 6, his passive now requires only 4 stacks and has increased damage. As we look into teams for Blade, through testing, the best team that I found for myself personally was him with Luocha, Bronya, and Silverwolf. Now let's take a look at each of these characters individually because a lot of people may not have all of them, but you may have one of them so you can understand the synergy. So Luocha, essentially, him and Blade, I feel like you'll see a lot of 2-man, basically every content in the game with these two. They synergize super well. Luocha puts his field up, so when Blade sacrifices HP, he hits the enemy, gets it back. Pretty simple. Also, if he sacrifices his HP below 50, Luocha is going to auto heal him, bring him back up. They just synergize super well. But that was the defensive support for him, in Luocha being the healing support. Then we have the offensive, which is Bronya. Bronya works super well. Firstly, they're both wind elements, so they synergize well against the same enemies for break type. But on top of that, Bronya is going to grant Blade turns with using skills, whereas Blade gets a lot of, he's not very skill point hungry because after he's used his skill, his enhanced basics don't consume skill points. So the skill points will be there available for Bronya to use to boost him up. And if Blade's getting boosted, not only is he getting the damage increase from Bronya, but he's also getting more turns, meaning he's using his enhanced basic more often, which means he's consuming his HP more often, which means he's using his follow attack more often. So it's just a great synergy between those two. And then Silverwolf, obviously we're reducing defense, we're reducing resistance, and also changing that weakness if we need to. So overall, this as a core team worked absolutely amazing. But if you have any one of those 3 units, definitely pair them with him and you will get some good results. Now, for those that don't have those units, if we're looking at a pure 4-star only team to go with him, honestly, he's a bit tricky with the current 4-star units in the game. This was the best I could piece together. Unfortunately, there's not great elemental synergy between this team using Natasha, Pella, and Asta. But if you don't have any other units, that's the kind of thing I would be looking at. So that is going to be it for my Blade guide. A pretty smooth dude, very self-sufficient, going to destroy a lot of things, and just an all-round cool playstyle. So if you enjoy that, go ahead and pull for him. If you don't, wait for what you love. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.